The Still Learning the Ropes evil had decided to try the excellent tutorials. Good choice. In this childishly simple introductory mission, it would learn the basics of dungeon management. Things like digging, building rooms, and hiring and firing creatures. Everything a novice evil needs to know. First of all, it admired the center of its power, the dungeon heart. This, if possible, should never be broken, as that would lead to an inglorious and permanent end to the definitely wanting to avoid this at all costs evil. Naturally, the most important resource for any evil genius was gold. One can make the best things out of the glittering metal, and nary a creature was going to let the absolute evil hire it and push it around without a coin or two. Sad, I know, but that's the way the cold, hard capitalist world of evil works. Although a little gold could also be stored in the dungeon heart, the little snots, the strange name giving evil's workers, had to travel long distances to do so. It made much more sense to build a treasury nearby. The fast learning evil immediately began doing so. Sometimes the bored evil's little snots didn't work quickly enough. That was the time to give them a hearty slap with the hand of terror. Naturally, this had to be done immediately. The calculating evil threw a cagey glance at its population limits. These were divided into little snots and creatures. As opposed to creatures, little snots did not have to be hired separately, but were always regenerated up to the maximum limit. And so it was that the massacring evil didn't have to worry if one of these miserable creatures died. It simply had to wait for the next one. At the same time, the little snots were the dungeon workers who dug the galleries, mined the gold, and took care of any number of other things. That's why it was never a bad idea to increase their maximum limit. The thirsty for more little snots evil hurriedly began work. The corresponding research was kindly unlocked for the absolute evil. This was necessary in the tutorial in order not to confuse it with the wide range of possibilities. Besides, there are people out there. Unfortunately, creatures were a little more demanding than the miserable little snots. A hideout would have to be researched before creatures such as goblins and orcs could be hired. As loyal as the little snots were, they were unable to fight and took to their heels in panicked flight at the first sight of an enemy. Sighing, the unscrupulous evil set about providing a hideout. The army-craving evil had hired a creature which would from now on do its dirty work. However, each creature consumed a population point. Fortunately, these could be increased just like the number of workers. Should it become necessary to recover a population point, the maliciously grinning evil could always use the egress located at its dungeon heart. Simply toss the creature onto it, a little pull of the lever, and oh whoops. Well, there it goes. These creatures were pretty spoiled. Not only did horde creatures demand their own bunks, they also wanted something to eat. Otherwise, they would soon refuse to do any work whatsoever and go on strike. The deeply sighing evil had no other choice than to build his creatures a gobbler farm to satisfy their hunger. Excellent work. The gobbler farm was now ready. Later, the creatures would also demand other things, but for now, they were satisfied. The fast-learning evil had mastered the first tutorial with flying colors. Excellent work. The fast-learning evil had begun the second tutorial. It now more or less knew what it had to do to build a dungeon. Now it would turn to the overworld, where it would sow chaos and destruction. Up there waited a Isle of Good, which just begged to be destroyed. The impatient evil got right down to destroy it. Before the overworld could be destroyed, a number of creatures would first have to be brought there. The Hand of Terror greedily reached out to grab some. First, creatures ventured out into the overworld. The destruction-craving evil could hardly wait to transform all those unbearably rich colors into 50 shades of gray. The drooling evil did not have the omnipotence in the overworld it was used to in the dungeon. Here, it had to direct its creatures the old-fashioned way, with orders. the Isle of Good had been destroyed. To the ground. This not only made for a more pleasant ambiance, but also produced some lovely evilness, which could be used for research. The researching evil quickly set about spending its evilness. The sinuous evil had researched the Nagas. These snake-like creatures were excellent healers and a good addition to the dungeon. The fantastic evil had understood the basics of the overworld and the advantages of evilness in the blink of an eye. Not that those were difficult concepts, but hey, you take what you can get, so good work. Dungeons for advanced students. The skill